Well, hello and welcome to another edition of Weird News and Wacky History. Look behind the scenes of what's been happening throughout world events. I'm your host, Pastor Roland Moss, that old history dude. Our fashion-conscious society goes gaga over gold, but how much do you really know about this precious metal? Join me today as we get giddy for gold. Rush for it, read fairy tales about it, and invest in it. What is it? Well, gold, of course. There's something mythical and magical about this weighty metal. Atomic number 79 on the periodic table, its symbol is Au from the Old Latin aureum, meaning shining dawn or glow of sunrise. The word gold comes from the Proto-Indo-European gel, yellowish green. It's been known since ancient times. Gold came to the earth in meteorites and is the only golden metal. Extremely ductile, a single ounce can be stretched into a wire 5 miles long. So malleable is it that the same ounce can be hammered out into a 300 square foot sheet so thin it's transparent. Odorless, tasteless, and generally non-toxic, gold may even be eaten, although it may cause allergies in some. Going jewelry shopping? Pure gold is 24 karat. 18 karat is 75% pure, 14 karat is 58.5% pure, and 10 karat is 41.7% pure. The other percentage is silver, platinum, copper, palladium, zinc, nickel, iron, and/or cadmium. Oh, and one last thing. If you think Fort Knox is huge and imposing, just remember that all the gold ever discovered in the history of the world could fit in a cubicle room 25 yards square. And speaking of Fort Knox, the gracious hospitality of Kentucky. Watching the horses run at the Derby, eating Southern fried chicken while tapping your foot to bluegrass music, exploring the depths of Mammoth Cave, tracing the footsteps of Daniel Boone, Abraham Lincoln, and Muhammad Ali. Everywhere the bluegrass state has the welcome mat out for you, except one particular place that says no visitors. Period. Fort Knox Bullion Depository was built 30 miles southwest of Louisville between 1935 and 1936. It's designed to house the majority of America's gold reserves, with the rest lodged in mint facilities in San Francisco, Denver, Philadelphia, and West Point, New York. What's inside are primarily mint bars, each some 400 troy ounces of almost pure gold and measuring 7 inches long, 3.5 inches wide, and 1 3/4 inches thick. It's also home to gold coin bars melted down from reclaimed coins. The very first gold shipment arrived at Fort Knox between January and June of 1937. So how did the U.S. government securely ship millions of dollars of national treasure? Why, they dropped it in the mail, of course. It was shipped in United States Post Office rail cars, since the mail service was the only method that guaranteed replacement for any losses. It all arrived safely, by the way. The first gold rush wasn't where you think. The words gold rush immediately conjures up visions of wild-eyed 49ers heading west after gold was discovered at Sutter's Mill in 1848 in Coloma, California. But the rolling hills of Appalachia? Not so much. The first U.S. gold rush got its start after 12-year-old Conrad Reed found a funny yellow rock in his dad's field in Cabarrus County, North Carolina in 1799. Not knowing what it was, the Reeds used it as a doorstop until Conrad's dad showed it to a jeweler. Recognizing it for what it was, the shop owner offered Reed $3.50, a whole week's wages for the 17-pound ingot. When Reed learned that he'd been snookered, he simply went home and found a 28-pound ingot in 1803. So big did the gold rush become that a U.S. mint would be built there. Then came the next big gold rush. Nope, still not in California. A nugget was discovered in 1829 in what's now Lumpkin County, near the county seat of Dahlonega, Georgia. It didn't matter that this land belonged to the Cherokees. Squatters moved right in and started excavating everything on site. When the Indians made a fuss, the government simply force-marched them away out west on the Trail of Tears and then built another U.S. mint on the tribal land. All for the sake of shiny rocks. Some struck it rich in some highly unusual ways. Millions rushed to California after the discovery of gold was announced in 1848, but precious few ever saw any of the yellow mineral that was unearthed there. Instead, merchants like Levi Strauss, selling clothing and dry goods, and Sam Brannan, supplying hardware, were the ones who really made out. And a laundryman named John John. All Chinese washers were known as John Johns by the white men who couldn't tell them apart. The story is told of one enterprising laundryman who offered to wash all the prospectors' clothes for free. For miners rooting around in the dirt all day, this seemed too good to be true. Mountains of laundry soon piled up, with each piece carefully returned, washed, and folded. The miners were delighted by the crazy Chinaman. Years later, one customer ran into John John, now dressed in fancy brocades. Asked if he'd struck it rich, he explained his free laundry. The John John figured that gold dust and small nuggets got lodged in the digger's pants seams and cuffs. He simply washed the clothes, let the heavy metal settle to the bottom of his kettle, and then collected it. There was more than one way to pan for gold in those days. And that's about all the time we have for this edition of Weird News and Wacky History, a look behind the scenes of what's been happening throughout the years. I'm your host, Pastor Roland Moss, author, historian, and speaker, hoping that all of your history may be just a little bit weird.